When I was working on my doctorate, I was fortunate enough to be invited to attend a sex dungeon, and I ended up getting kicked out. I'll tell you why in just a minute. I made this video just for you to make sure that you can avoid that same fate and every other sex dungeon faux pas you can imagine. So stay tuned, and I'm going to show you exactly how to be a guest who gets invited back. As a sex and relationship coach, my goal is to help you navigate the exciting and diverse worlds of alternative sexuality. No matter what it is that you're into, there is a way to do it right so that you don't look like a total noob on your first time, and instead you can focus on the experience that you want to have and the people who you want to have it with. You know, it can cause a lot of stress. I know for myself, I was incredibly nervous the first time that I was driving in like a warehouse district and near the airport. It is nerve-wracking enough. But add to that when you don't know what's expected of you, when you don't know how to act, and you may just choose never to go at all. Understanding the rules and expectations of these unique environments is essential for both a safe and an enjoyable experience. So let's go ahead and dive in. First, let's address preparation and dress code. Start by researching the event. Familiarize yourself with everything you can find, and don't be afraid to ask questions in advance of the event. Make sure you know the rules, make sure you know the theme, make sure you know the expectations. Some parties will have specific dress codes, some require specific pre-registration, some require you to be sponsored by an existing member or to buy a membership for that event, for that party. You're gonna want to know what is expected of you in advance. And if for some reason you're not able to find that out on the website or by asking people who are associated with that particular dungeon or that space, get in contact with someone and don't be afraid to ask all of the questions. People are usually very happy to answer. Also, make sure that you dress appropriately. Opt for clothing that reflects the atmosphere of the event, like leather, latex, and lingerie. When in doubt, black clothing is generally very acceptable, and things that are on maybe the nicer or more stylish or a little bit dressed up for the occasion, I always recommend. You can't really go wrong. When in doubt, you can wear all black. Wear nicer clothing as if you were like maybe going out to a nice dinner or going on a date, and you will usually fit in or at least not stand out at most BDSM and kink events. Second, personal hygiene. Make sure that you have groomed, that you have showered, that you smell nice but not too nice. Nobody needs to smell you from a distance closer than a hug, okay? Make sure that your fingernails have been trimmed, that your hair or your beard has been brushed. Good hygiene, honestly, just demonstrates that you care about yourself, the others, and the space that you're in, and it shows that you put more than a couple moments of thought into your participation in the event that evening. All right, let's talk about consent and communication. Respect boundaries. Consent is paramount in BDSM and kink communities. It is basically the foundation upon which everything else rests. Always, 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 always ask for explicit consent before doing anything with anyone, before touching anyone or engaging in any sort of activity. It is probably the number one mistake that people who are new to this space make, is to somehow reach out, touch, grab, touch someone's toy, touch someone's partner, engage in a conversation with someone without asking if it is okay or if it's acceptable for them to be engaging in that way. If you are not sure, just ask. Next up, negotiate. Clearly communicate your own desires, your limits, your boundaries. If you decide that you are going to play and engage, maybe in a fully clothed activity, something like spanking or flogging, talk to your potential play partners about your own limitations and what it is that you want for yourself. Ensure that you actually understand what's going on, what it is that someone is offering, and make sure that you respect others' preferences. At a different event, someone came by with a flogger, which is a tool used specifically usually to strike people or impact them on their back or on their backside. And I said, oh, I would love a flogging somewhere on a scale from like 4 to 5 out of 10. And this person, he hit me as hard as I imagine he humanly could. And it not only left red marks on me for days, it also caused my skin to blister. Even in those circumstances where I had said what my pain threshold is and what I was expecting to experience from this person, he completely violated that request and violated my boundaries and made a choice for me that I was gonna have a big mark on my butt and have trouble sitting for the rest of the time that I was at that event. Not cool. So along those lines, here's another piece of advice. Use safe words. Anytime that you engage in play with anyone, engage in a conversation first about safe words. Consider what your individual words are going to be if you're the one receiving that activity, and make sure that you understand what their safe words are if you're the person who is giving sensation. A good rule is to use yellow and red. Yellow is, hey, slow down, use caution, we're getting close to an edge. And red is everything come to a complete stop and we engage in a conversation before we move forward. Just knowing what your safe words are and what your partner's safe words are is the foundational piece to engaging in any sort of activity that has any sort of edge or pain or power play associated with it. All right, next up, let's talk specifically about the etiquette for single men in these environments. Observe and learn. Take the time to observe others and learn from their interactions. This is gonna help you to gain a better understanding of the nuanced dynamics and the expectations within the community. If you're not sure, wait. Watch. You do not need to engage. Hopefully, you're going to be invited back to this space and you may want to come back the following week when there's another party. Do not feel like you have to experience everything all at once. You can absolutely be a wallflower, take in, again, with consent. You want to make sure that even if you're just watching someone's scene, that you have their consent to watch. Often in dungeons, people are a bit of an exhibitionist. So again, if a lot of people are watching, you may feel like it's okay to join those people watching a scene. The most important thing is that you follow the guidance of the people who are elders inside of that community. And if you can't follow it, see yourself out. Second, don't be pushy. This is just good advice everywhere. Be patient. Do not, under any circumstances, pressure yourself or anyone else into participating in an activity that you're not comfortable with. Respect each and every individual's right to say no, including your own. You do not have to do anything that you don't want to do just because you're in this space. And number 3, and by the way, this is where I went wrong. I do recommend that you engage in conversations. Get to know other people at the event. Ask questions. Acknowledge that you're new to the space. You will find people who want to support, who want to bring you into the space, who want to share their own experiences. But understand that these play spaces are for play. They are not for networking, they're not for dating, and they are not for gathering everyone in the dungeon to engage inside of a conversation about BDSM and a theoretical or philosophical way, which is how I got asked to leave that dungeon. What can I say? I'm a sex and relationship coach. I'm a talker. And as soon as the owner of the dungeon realized that me and like 5 other people had all pulled up folding chairs and were sort of casually watching a woman get whipped on a St. Andrew's cross while talking about dungeons and dungeon etiquette and stuff like this, he swiftly asked me to leave. So that was my experience at the sex dungeon. You can keep it safe by asking them, where is the area where people are socializing? Usually there's a room with snacks, there's a parlor where people get changed, there is a safe space or a quiet space. Ask the people there, where do people usually hang out and chit chat? And then go there to make new connections and build community. All right, for men who are visiting a sex dungeon or club with a partner, rule number 1 is prioritize your partner. Focus on your partner's needs and desires and make sure that they feel comfortable and safe. Unless you have some other agreement going into the space, make sure that you are each other's dates for the night and that you are each other's safe anchors for the night. It is irresponsible for either one of you to get into this space and just run off, start to explore, and leave your partner behind. Make sure also that you communicate openly. Check in with your partner. Ensure that they are enjoying themselves. Also make sure that you are enjoying yourself. Address any concerns or boundaries that you have, and make sure that anything that you said no to, like we're not having sex with anyone tonight, before you get into that space, remains a no, okay? It can be a yes next week, but if you said it was a no before you got there, chances are you're gonna feel a lot better if you just don't do it, even if later it sounds like a really good idea. Again, you can always come back. Be mindful of your partner's limitations. Understand your partner's boundaries before you go into the space, because once you're in the space and there's like exciting stuff going on and you're getting turned on or aroused and you didn't even know people could play with electricity like that, is not the time to be making decisions about what your boundaries are. And it's definitely not the time to be trying to talk to your partner about why they should change their boundaries, because you didn't know and this sounds like a really good idea and can they be cool? Don't do that. All right, and finally, here's just some general etiquette tips to help you wherever you go that's sexy and keep your head on straight. Respect the space. Remember that each individual dungeon is gonna have its own rules, its own guidance, its own standard, its own equipment, its own expectations of attendees. So even if you've been to one dungeon or one sex club, that doesn't mean you've been to them all. Each individual space has its own rules. Take the time to get to know them. Number 2, give privacy. If you see a scene in progress, make sure to remain a respectful distance. And don't forget that sometimes if someone's using like a whip or a flogger, a respectable distance is actually quite a distance. Avoid interrupting, avoid distracting either one of the participants. This is actually a safety concern. Make sure that you are paying respect to anything that is already in play. You don't need to cross the room at that time. You can wait until they're done using the whip. Trust me, it's better for everyone if you don't screw around with it. Clean up. After using any equipment or play areas, clean up after yourself and leave the space or the accessory or the St. Andrew's cross or the spanking bench or the dog cage or whatever in the same condition you found it. We're all adults here, right? I mean, you have to be. They're not gonna let you in unless you are. By following these etiquette guidelines and any more that are specific to the location that you're playing in, you can pretty much ensure a positive and enjoyable experience at the dungeon or the play party. Remember, consent, communication, and respect are the cornerstones of BDSM, and it's what makes kink communities and dungeons such awesome places to hang out in, as long as you're cool and you don't get asked to leave like me. I wish you the best and most fun time exploring these spaces. Bring an open mind, prioritize your safety and the well-being of others, and you will have a thrilling experience. I can just about guarantee it. Also, if you're interested in exploring this or anything else that feels edgy and risky inside of sex and sexuality, please apply for coaching. Me and my team of coaches can work with you over a series of months or even just in a one-off conversation to make sure that you have everything that you need to enter into a sex dungeon or a new relationship, feeling grounded, feeling confident, and feeling like you know what the heck is going on. You can apply for coaching in the description of this video below. I'm Caitlin V. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you next week, and maybe at the dungeon. Bye-bye.